Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited. A two-place single-engine turbojet-powered GA plane may be on the way. Senators try to speed UAV regulations through legislation. ISS supply missions are rescheduled because of Russia's failure to deliver. I'm Bree Cross. It is May 15th, 2015, and this is Airborne Unlimited. If this next report comes to fruition, it'll be really cool. Aircraft manufacturer Tecnam is actively evaluating the potential of developing and producing a two-place, single turbofan engine-powered aircraft. Tecnam said on its website that, quote, innovative developments are driven by customer demand, and extensive interest has been shown for the introduction of a two-seat, side-by-side turbofan engine-powered aircraft to be used by military flight training organizations, but also to offer a significantly faster and more efficient aircraft for both the private and business aviation sectors, end quote. Called the P-Jet, the aircraft configuration would see the engine podded to provide full ram air intake effect. It would not interfere with the primary aircraft structure, and it would also enable easier access for maintenance and inspections. Tecnam anticipates that the P-Jet cabin will be available both pressurized and non-pressurized for use with an airframe integrated oxygen system. Development will be based on achieving CS23 and FAR 23 certification. A bill introduced in the U.S. Senate has been praised by industry groups like AUVSI, but it is not universally popular in all corners of the UAV world. The bill is intended to establish an interim rule while the FAA grinds through its rulemaking process. Among other things, it would allow the operation of small, unmanned aircraft for commercial purposes without an airworthiness certificate within the United States beginning on the date of the enactment and ending on the effective date of the final FAA rule. AUVSI likes the bill because the legislation elevates UAS as a national priority, ensuring the industry can quickly and safely take off in the U.S. and keep pace with other countries that have already more permissive UAS regulations. But writing on the website Radio Motherboard, columnist Jason Kobler says that the bill would only benefit large companies that want to operate their aircraft for commercial purposes. He said the law, if enacted, would be, quote, great news for large companies who have plenty of money to navigate these regulations, end quote. After the break, space station partners adjust spacecraft schedule.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
The KSN 770 is an affordable, WAS-enabled integrated MFD with a flexible hybrid user interface from Bendix King. Get your fingers on the 770's perfect blend of touchscreen and hard buttons. Easily control your GPS navigation, Navcom, weather, traffic, and terrain in any condition. For more information, go to bendixking.com.
AML's patent-pending wireless induction charging system eliminates confusion over those charging cables, cuts down cockpit cable clutter, and allows you and your passengers to fly cordless and eliminate the cable nightmare. www.aviationmodificationleaders.com.
Welcome back. If you have a story suggestion for Airborne Unlimited, Aero-TV, our website, or podcast, just email to newsdesk@aero-news.net. NASA and its international partners agreed earlier this week to set a new schedule for spacecraft traffic to and from the International Space Station. The partner agencies agreed to adjust the schedule after hearing the Russian Federal Space Agency's preliminary findings on the recent loss of the Progress 59 cargo craft. Roscosmos expects to provide an update about the Progress 59 investigations on Friday, May 22nd. The return to Earth for NASA's Terry Virts and 2 other astronauts is now targeted for early June. The next Russian cargo craft, Progress 60, will launch in early July. The space station has sufficient supplies to support crews until the fall of 2015. The Soyuz spacecraft carrying Expedition 44 will launch in late July from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The date of SpaceX's 7th resupply flight under its commercial resupply services contract with NASA is still under review, but remains targeted for no earlier than June 19th. Additional 2015 space station-related launch dates are also under review. It's Friday, and that means that it is time for ANN CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell to check in with his weekly Barnstorming commentary. Jim's been looking at the future of aviation in both best-case and worst-case terms, and has come up with some interesting observations. Here is this week's Barnstorming.
Thanks, Bree, and hi, folks. I've been looking in bits and pieces at the solution set we need to build a new aviation. As you know, we're involved in the minutia. We see everything, the nitty, the gritty, the big, the small, the finite, the infinite, the things that make aviation what it is today and the building blocks for what it might become in the future. I am finding in bits and pieces a number of things that give me great reason to hope. But what it comes down to is that we're going to need a fundamental change in attitude. But it comes down to one thing. Are you willing to fight for this business? I have watched a political fight that's gone on near where I learned to fly in New Jersey for many years. Solberg Airport has been up against the gun, and the gun in this particular case was a municipality that not only didn't value the airport, in many cases it not only wanted to destroy it, but it was willing to say a lot of things, many of them untrue, to try to make the airport go away. It didn't. They fought for their right to exist. They did extraordinary things, and ultimately they are winning. And most important, they've just won in court. Judge Armstrong, who ruled over a massive series of litigations that ultimately allowed Solberg to triumph, said this: "There is a certain freedom that defines general aviation. Men and women throughout history gazed longingly at the soaring, effortless freedom of birds, pondering release from the symbolic bondage of gravity. Only here can a man or woman walk onto some old farmer's field and turn dreams into reality. As Charles Lindbergh once said, 'What freedom lies in flying, what godlike power it gives to men. I lose all consciousness in this strong, unmortal space crowded with beauty, pierced with danger.'" General aviation airports serve a myriad of public purposes. The record substantiates the importance of general aviation and Solberg Airport's role in particular. The defendant offered documentary and testimonial evidence which this court found persuasive in its determination of public purpose. The objective evidence demonstrated that general aviation generates over $1 billion in revenue and creates thousands of jobs across the state. It has a substantial economic impact on communities and contributes directly to local business transportation capability. The evidence also demonstrated that New Jersey's general aviation infrastructure provides many health, welfare, and social benefits. Emergency medical services, schools, fire and emergency services, law enforcement, tour operators, and traffic surveillance directly benefit from general aviation airports. This was a judge who, at one point or another, had to look at the world of general aviation and found out if it was worth saving. He thought it was. So do I. What say you?
After these messages, Navy strike fighter down in the Arabian Gulf.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Now certified, Aspen Avionics single-band ADS-B ATX100 and ATX100G transceivers are the next-gen ADS-B solution that provides the features pilots need while keeping flyaway costs low. Check it out now at aspenavionics.com.
Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.
Welcome back. With so much news coming out of the aviation industry, we're summarizing some other interesting stories in a brief segment we call Around the Patch. A U.S. Navy fighter FA-18F Super Hornet assigned to the Strike Fighter Squadron, VFA-211, went down in the Arabian Gulf earlier this week, shortly after launching from the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt. The 2 crew members ejected and were recovered safely. The first AeroChapter of the Flight School Association of North America received its charter on April 23rd. Mid-Island Air Service in Ronkonkoma, New York, became the first chartered AeroChapter. 14 youth from the local community attended their first meeting. ESA, France's space agency CNES, and the German Aerospace Center DLR inaugurated the Airbus A310-0G, refitted for altered gravity by running 12 scientific experiments this week. This aircraft replaces the Airbus A300 previously used for this purpose. Air crews from the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, known as the Hurricane Hunters, flew their WC-130J Hercules off the southeast coast of the U.S. into Tropical Storm Anna. They flew a total of 6 sorties into the storm. Well, that's it for today's trip around the patch. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. Embraer has released its 20-year market outlook for the North American market, in which it forecasts 2,060 new jet deliveries in the 70 to 130 seat segment. It represents nearly 35% of the total worldwide demand for aircraft in this particular segment and is valued at $96 billion. President and CEO Paulo Cesar Silva said in part, quote, "Despite higher growth rates in other parts of the world, our projections show the U.S. market continuing to dominate the segment because it has such a large volume of existing 70 to 130 seat jets," end quote. Further growth is expected as full-service carriers restructure their intra-regional hub-and-spoke operations and deploy larger capacity regional jets with premium seating in markets traditionally flown by 50-seat jets. The E-175 has become a bestseller in its category with an 80% share of net orders in North America since 2013. Embraer's 2015 market outlook identifies the 90 to 130 seat jet segment as another cornerstone in a new era that is expected to deliver healthier financial results. Well, that's our program for today. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. Remember that Airborne Unlimited is streamed daily Monday through Friday, with additional breaking news bulletins for important stories that fall outside of our normal deadlines. Please join us and a growing roster of over 100 outstanding industry associations and organizations every weekday for the best in aviation and aerospace news from the staff of the Aero-News Network, the aviation world's most comprehensive news and information resource. Have a wonderful weekend.